If you were in a room with everyone you ever met, who would be the one you'd look for? My daughter. Sad story time. I was once a young and very dumb 15-year-old boy who slept with an equally dumb 15-year-old girl. One time. And she got pregnant. Woo me. Her parents blocked me from seeing her when they found out about the pregnancy, and my parents went along with it because it was better for everybody this way. After the baby was born, her parents blocked me from seeing my daughter, and again, my parents went along with it because they thought it was still better for everybody this way. Through a few mutual friends, we managed to arrange a secret meeting once. I met her at the park around the corner from her house one night, at about 2 a.m., while her parents were asleep. That's the only time in my life I've ever met my daughter. She was 2 months old. My ex's parents somehow found out we'd met, so they sent my ex out of state to live with relatives a few days later. Their entire family moved away within the month. I never heard from them again. Many years later, when I was 22, I hired an investigator to track down my ex and find my daughter. He found my ex-girlfriend, now married and living in a neighboring state, but he informed me that she didn't have any children. So I hopped in my car, drove several hundred miles, and knocked on her front door. As it turned out, shortly after moving out of our old hometown, her parents had forced her to put the baby up for adoption. The adoption was closed and she had no idea where the baby was. Our daughter was 5 months old when she was handed over to her new family. I have no illusions about meeting her and being her dad. She's in her 20s now, and I'm sure she already has a dad who raised her and loves her. But she's the one person I would like to meet. I just want to hear her story and know that she turned out okay. I want her to know that I tried. I want her to know that, if the universe had been a little bit fairer, I'd have loved her too. That hurts, man. I hope you get to meet her someday. Maybe because I was a teen mom myself, but this one resonates with me. My mom was my rock in helping me raise my son. The dad fell in love with someone else and moved away. 17 years later he barely has a relationship with our son. Maybe it's guilt that makes him randomly text my son to say hi, but that doesn't last long. Months will pass by before he texts randomly again. Luckily I met my wonderful husband when my son was barely 2 years old, so he's everything I could have hoped for as a father to him. And then Terry's fathers like you that didn't even have a chance. I'm so sorry that your daughter was taken from you. I hope one day you can meet and that she knows how much you tried. So when I was super young, me and my sister would play in the backyard. There was also another street that was beside us, and another family's backyard came up to our fence. There was this girl that would always come IP to the fence, and QLL 3 of us would play together. One day she and her family vanished and I never saw her again. Just to be clear, this is not a romantic thing. We were just really good friends. But I haven't seen her in so long I forgot everything about her. Name, voice, age, even her face. I literally made a comment super similar to this one. It'd be so cool to learn about this life of a childhood friend you don't clearly remember. All we associate it with is a happy time. There was also this old fella who picked me up when I fell on my skis in Colorado about 7 years ago. He was a kind sir, one who I bet would have very interesting stories to tell. My dad, I miss him. Lost mine when I was 7. I wish I could see him again. Edit, I'm glad everyone is sharing their stories. My father was a very good man and I'm thrilled that I was able to have a solid few years with him as a kid. I just wish he was able to see me now. Same, I lost dad when I was 16. He had brain cancer. I'm 21 now, finally attending university to do a degree in computer science, which is what he did too, and I bet he never would have thought I would follow in his path. I'm in a loving relationship with someone who is so smart and interesting that I wish my dad, another loving and interesting human, could meet. So many memories and events I wish he could be there to see. I'm just thankful I had him for 16 years. My sister was 3 when he passed. She'll never get to experience what an amazing dad he was. I can't begin to fathom growing up without him. My childhood best friend. We were best friends from 4 to 17. He battled with leukemia from 13 to 17. The last year of his life he was constantly in and out of the hospital and was immunocompromised. I got to see him, but we had to keep our distance. We were planning on going to the same college for engineering. I know all he would want to know is if I did it, and kept moving. I plan on naming my firstborn after him. 12 years later and I still think about him most days, and he is my driving force to stay positive and keep on pushing. If it's not too impolite to ask, did you get your engineering degree from the university? Wow, this is powerful. I'm sorry if this sounds a bit strange, but this made me feel really good. Smiley face. My friend Matt, who died back in 2005. He was essentially the architect of my moral compass. That's sod. I lost my childhood best friend Matt under bizarre circumstances back in 2005. I miss him terribly. That's a really good way of phrasing that. My grandfather. He died when I was around 5, and I loved him as much as my parents. Although I don't remember much of him, I would really want to sit down and talk to him, get to know him. I miss him. For me it would be the guy who mooned me in downtown Denver one day. As I'm pulling up, a homeless-looking man in baggy jeans and a crooked smile points at me and grins. Before anything in my mind can register, he turns away from me, drops his jeans and moons me. Underneath? Another pair of jeans, completely obfuscating his lunar entities. He lets out a laugh bathed in hysteria and casually walks away from me, walking towards the financial district, knowing his mark saw nothing but cotton eye got views. I want to meet him too. I also choose this guy's homeless mooner. Even the people who are dead now? My grandpa. If not, my so. Same with my grandpa. He died on Sunday and I'd give anything to give him a hug now. My late husband. My best friend Gabrielle. She died from cancer when we were 12, it was so hard watching her go. I named my firstborn after her, and am best friends with her little sister now. I miss her. Fuck cancer. Sending my love to you, your family, and hers, heart. Rashim. I loved him for more than half my life. I just wish we'd made up before he passed. I just opened a beer, this one's for Rashim, may you rest in peace. I feel this so much. I miss my friend Alex, he was my best friend for years and we had a falling out. I would give anything to go back and forgive him and tell him I love him and I'm here for him. He must have felt so alone at the end to do what he did. I met a man on a plane once, sat next to me. He was about my dad's age and later I found I was about his daughter's age. We started chatting, and just a few days before I had just cut off contact with my veteran alcoholic father. He asked me about myself and I told him I worked in child welfare. He then told me he was a veteran addictions therapist. I don't even remember how we got on the topic, but by the end of the flight he was telling me, tell your dad you love him. Tell him you want him to get sober for you, because you want to see him live a happy and full life. It was such a bizarre encounter with what was going on in my life at the time, and I'm not religious, but maybe divine intervention placed us in that place at that time. I'd look for him to tell him how much that conversation meant to me, that it was the most impactful meeting with a stranger I've ever had. Did his advice help? Did you heed his advice? If so, how did it turn out? Hopefully well. My husband. Even though it's likely he's already beside me. Then I finally get to introduce him to my grandfather. I think I would do the same. My husband and I met when we were still teens just before my grandfather passed. They have similar interests, and I can't help but feel like they could have been such good friends. I've always wished I could have introduced them to each other. My mom. She died on the 2nd of this month. I'd give anything just to get a hug from her. As a teenager, I'm 73 now, I got a job at Los Angeles County General Hospital. I worked in medical records and had to hand deliver records to the various wards. I worked the night shift when most of the wards had the lights turned down low for the comfort of the patients. One night I'll never forget, while quietly walking through one of the cancer wards on the 11th floor, out of the darkness came a man's voice, "Mom, is that you?" I felt so sad. I just went on with my business, but his voice has stuck with me to this day. I miss my mom too. It will be 4 years this spring. Just to hear her laugh, gasp when she hears a swear word, or to ask me to fix her computer. I am sending you a hug. I am also a mom, and tonight I will add you to thoughts as I bless my children before I fall asleep. I am not a religious person, but every night I ask that my children are happy, healthy, strong and safe. Tonight Vault Boy, know a mom somewhere is wishing you the very best, just as your mom always did. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.